Assalamu alaikum, grade 8. How are you? Faiza Nadeem is standing here in front of you with one of her English lessons. And this lesson is specifically about grammar. It's the continuation of the previous lecture, which was Unit 9, Preposition of your book, The Grammar Tree. But before I start my lesson, I must ask you, if all of you are hale and hearty, I must wish and pray that all of you are healthy and safe. All of you are attending your schools regularly and are aware of the significance of academics. Alright, after all these salutations, let's start today's lesson. Yes, grade 8, the boys and the girls, what is the board telling you? The board is telling you that we are going to do Unit 9, Prepositions, and the last pages that were left when we were doing the previous lecture. We had covered half of the lesson in the previous lecture and the rest of the half will be covered today. So, what did we do in the previous lecture? We did the kinds of prepositions and we learned the correct usage of. Alright, go through it and find it out. So today we are going to learn the correct usage of until, while, during and by. And after that we are going to do a little more exercises that are related to the prepositions. But first thing first, do you know that prepositions are the most confusing parts of speech to be placed in any sentence? So that is why we are doing a specific series of lectures only on prepositions. Prepositions must be placed very, very, very wisely. They must not be confused. In, on, along, towards, through, across, kahan lagne hain, kahan nahi lagne. You must be very careful and particular about that. So let's move on to the lecture, to the topic of the day. And that is the use of during, while, until and by in a sentence. Ab sabse pehle we will know where to use the preposition during. And it says that we use during to say that an action takes place for a fixed duration. एक fixed duration में जो काम हो रहा होता है, उसके लिए हम word preposition during use करते हैं. Example is, I fell asleep during the journey. So whatever lengthy the journey was or whatever short the journey was, he had fallen asleep during that time, right? So it was a specific beginning point and an ending point and he fell asleep in between. The next is we use while to introduce an adverbial clause. What is an adverbial clause? An adverbial clause is such which has a subject and a verb along with an adverb present in it, right? Example कर लेते हैं. She slipped and fell badly while she was climbing the wall. अब देखो, इसके अंदर आपका subject है, ठीक है, इसके अंदर आपका verb है, object है, लेकिन ये पूरा जो sentence है वो ये बता रहा है कि how did she fall, यानी ये पूरा जो sentence है वो इस fall को बता रहा है कि when did this fall happen. So this is an adverbial clause, right? Next is we use by to indicate that an action is completed not later than a fixed time. एक एक्शन है वो स्टार्ट हो गया है और वो एक फिक्स्ड या स्पेसिफिक टाइम के अंदर खत्म हो गया है. अब ड्यूरिंग और बाय में क्या डिफरेंस है? ड्यूरिंग आपका तब होता है जब आप एक काम कर चुके होते हो किसी भी एक स्पेसिफिक एक्शन के दौरान, उसका बिगिनिंग टाइम, उसका एंडिंग टाइम और बीच में आपने वो काम किया हुआ हो. वेराज बाय क्या होगा? बाय इंडिकेट करेगा कि वो कंप्लीट हो गया था इस स्पेसिफिक टाइम के दौरान. हम यहाँ पे बाय द जर्नी नहीं लिख सकते, ड्यूरिंग द जर्नी, जर्नी के दौरान, जर्नी एंड होने तक नहीं, जर्नी के दौरान, राइट? इसी तरह he said he had to complete the report and hand it in by Friday. उसको रिपोर्ट कंप्लीट करके कब तक सबमिट करनी थी? by Friday, not during Friday. During will be in between, ठीक है? डिफरेंस देखो, during will be in between. ये एक काम एक स्पेसिफिक डेडलाइन है, उस डेडलाइन से पहले आपको सबमिट करना है. इसीलिए बहुत सोच समझ के ड्यूरिंग और बाय आपने यूज करने हैं. लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट एंड दैट इज द यूज ऑफ until. We use until or till to indicate how long a situation continues. एक situation कब तक जारी रही, उसके लिए हम until यूज करते हैं या till यूज करते हैं. एग्जाम्पल करके इसको फर्दर कॉम्प्रिहेंड करते हैं. I cannot end this deal with you until my father gives me permission. जब तक मेरे बाबा मुझे परमिशन नहीं देते, मैं आपके साथ ये डील फिनिश नहीं कर सकता. ठीक है, यानी कि जब तक एक स्पेसिफिक कंडीशन फुल नहीं होगी, मैं ये काम नहीं करूंगा. So you have seen the different usage of while, by, during and until, right? इन सब का आपने यूसेज एग्जाम्पल्स के साथ पढ़ा. अब ये दो एक्सरसाइजेस रिलेट करी हैं इन्हीं स्पेसिफिक 4 prepositions के यूसेज को. I'll do that with you right now. You take your pencil out, open your book and start filling in your exercise E and exercise F along with me. But do not forget that I would want your input side by side. So help me out whenever and wherever I get stuck. Let's do exercise E first. Exercise E asks you to fill in the blanks by using during और while. during और while में confusion होती है हमेशा, इसीलिए उन्होंने during और while के एक्सरसाइज आपको अलहदा से दे दी है. ठीक है. We spotted Seema and chatted with her dash the interval of the movie. इंटरवल एक स्पेसिफिक टाइम है, उसका एक स्पेसिफिक बिगिनिंग टाइम है, उसका एक स्पेसिफिक एंडिंग टाइम है. तो while आएगा या during आएगा? हेल्प मी आउट. during आएगा. All of you are right. ठीक है. So we spotted Seema and chatted with her during the interval of the movie, right? Next is the doorbell rang thrice while we were having dinner. Specific time है, ending time है और उसके वक्त doorbell ने ring किया. ठीक है. while और ये क्या है? कब ring किया? while they were having dinner. ठीक है. adverb clause. Please do not interrupt me while I am talking. When you are not supposed to interrupt me, when I am talking, while I am talking. She never once went to the library during her first year at the college. Throughout the entire year, she did not go to the library. I read a dozen books while I was in the hospital. So he was hospitalized and he had read a dozen books. For the past week or so, we have been hearing a child cry during the night. Spooky. She was bitten by a snake thrice during her research in the rainforest. OMG, how brave she is that she is least bothered by the snake bite. He wrote his autobiography during his stay in the prison. So this was all exercise E. I now move on to exercise F. Exercise F asks you to use until or by. Number 1. Don't pay the phone bill yet. Wait until the phone company contacts you regarding your complaint. She is staying with her father until Monday. After that, she will move into her own apartment. Number 3. I must leave now because I have to be home by 5 o'clock. Number 4. We can't rest until we have met her and talked to her. 5. It is hoped that the construction will finish by next month. 6. We won't have another holiday until next summer. 7. The plan has to be submitted by 3 o'clock today. And the last sentence is, she did not believe me until I showed the letter to her, or until I showed her the letter. So this was all exercise F. After exercise F, I have brought the preposition of direction for you. The preposition of direction is like telling you towards which direction you should move. Up, down, under, over, below, all these are prepositions. But their usage specifies that in which specific way they have been used, right? So they can be contrasted with the preposition of place. Preposition of place के साथ हम इनको contrast कर लेते हैं, मिला लेते हैं, लिख लेते हैं, ठीक है? And the general preposition of directions are out of, across, into, through, off, along and so on and so forth. एक exercise करके इस concept को further reinforce कर लेते हैं. ये है आपकी exercise G. This is your exercise G of the textbook which is on my board. I want you to copy down the answers while I am discussing and explaining them for you. You have to go down the stairs and then along the corridor to reach the auditorium. This is how you direct somebody towards their destination. आप डायरेक्शंस ऐसे यूज करते हैं कि स्टेयर्स के नीचे जाओ और उसके बाद डाउन द स्टेयर्स एंड देन अलोंग द कॉरिडोर. ठीक है, कॉरिडोर के साथ साथ निकल जाओ अगर आपने ऑडिटोरियम में पहुंचना है. Mrs. Khan got into a taxi and quickly drove to the hospital. She is in an emergency and there was some problem at her home, so she quickly stepped into the taxi and drove towards the hospital. The police chased the car over the bridge and through the tunnel before forcing it to stop. The police is chasing some criminals and this is how they have stopped them. If you walk along the river and then towards the market, you will reach the school. This is the river you have to walk along and that is the market and you have to move towards that. That is the bazaar. You don't have to walk along and move in that direction, but you have to move towards that direction, right? So these are all prepositions of directions. I have 10 sentences in this exercise. Let's move on to the fifth one. The clown kept falling off the horse and then at once jumping on the back again, only to fall off again. Look at this hilarious comical situation created by this clown. He is falling off, climbing on and then falling off. But look at the usage of the prepositions, which is the demand of the day. She tried to swim across the river where it is narrow. जहाँ पे river narrow है, she was trying to swim across it. The boat sailed along the coast. I can't fix so many clothes inside this small box. He hurriedly made his way towards the crowd to see where the injured person was lying. And the last one was, if you can't walk through the gate like normal people, you always enter by jumping over the wall. Oh my God. The father is really angry at the son climbing over the gate all the time, not going through it, right? Look at the way he is saying it. Why can't you walk through the gate like normal people? You always enter by jumping over the wall. Alright, so this was exercise G. We now move on to the next topic of preposition, which is prepositional phrases. We are just going to know about them. We are not going to do them in this specific lecture, because prepositional phrases are another very lengthy topic. So we are not going to do them. We are just going to learn that a few words that have a preposition in the beginning and a noun or a pronoun in the end work as a prepositional phrase. For example, I got that present from Lena. From Lena is the prepositional phrase. Or this song was on the radio. On the radio is the prepositional phrase. Lena and radio both are the nouns. Let's read the literate meaning of this prepositional phrase before we move on to the next topic. The prepositional phrase is a phrase that begins with a preposition and ends with a noun or a pronoun, and they can further function as an adverb or an adjective. We are not going to do a very comprehensive discussion on prepositional phrases. They are an entirely different topic, but since we are doing prepositions, you must know about prepositional phrases as well. That's why we had barely touched this topic. Let's move on to the next topic. Alright, the next topic is the preposition with forms of transport. अगर आपने किसी ट्रांसपोर्ट पे ट्रेवल करना है तो उसके लिए आप कौन सी preposition यूज करेंगे, ठीक है? और अगर आपने किसी स्पेसिफिक गाड़ी में ट्रैवल करनी है तो कौन सी preposition होगी, और अगर कोई आम गाड़ी में ट्रैवल करनी है तो कौन सी preposition होगी. We use by with the form of transport without using a, an or the. A and the जो आपके determiners हैं, जो आपके articles हैं, वो नहीं लगते जब आप prepositional of transport यूज कर रहे हो, ठीक है? आप simple by लगाते हो. कैसे? Journey by train is more enjoyable than by bus. ट्रेन की जर्नी बस की जर्नी से ज्यादा मजेदार है. और we had to travel the caves by boat. Caves में जा रहे हो, you are out on excursions, outings, adventures, and you have to travel to that specific area by boat. लेकिन इसमें भी एक twist है. वो क्या है कि with reference to a specific car or bike हम by use नहीं करते. जैसे my cousin traveled in their uncle's car. My cousins traveled by their uncle's car is going to be a grammatically incorrect sentence जो आपकी mechanics के marks बहुत जालिमाना तरीके से lose करेगा. Right? The young man went there on his bike. The young man went there by his bike. आपको sentence construction में बड़ा सारा circle दिलाएगा, ठीक है? So be very careful when you are using your prepositions. Exercise H इससे related है. Let's do exercise H before we move on to the next topic. Exercise H is asking you to fill in the blanks by choosing suitable prepositions from the brackets. ठीक है? The boy poured the liquid dash the beaker into the beaker या in the beaker. यहाँ पे आएगा into the beaker. ठीक है? His friends were swimming dash the pool. Into the pool या in the pool. In the pool. She wrote the address dash the envelope. On the envelope या onto the envelope. On the envelope. She lifted the child dash the table. On the table या onto the table. Onto the table. The old man was so angry that he shouted dash the unruly fellow. To the unruly fellow या at the unruly fellow. At the unruly fellow. Since I was at a distance, she shouted dash me from her seat. To me from her seat या at me from her seat. She shouted to me. ठीक है, shouted at का मतलब होता है गुस्से में बोलना. To का मतलब है पुकारना अपने पास. ठीक है, यहाँ पे वो गुस्से में नहीं बोल रही. Usually we travel dash bus, but today we went dash my friend's car. By और in है, तो by पहले लगेगा, in बाद में. Usually we travel by bus, but today we went in my friend's car. Right? Last sentence is their guest arrived dash a taxi, in a taxi or on a taxi. सबसे कंफ्यूजिंग प्रपोजिशन होते हैं. आप टैक्सी के अंदर ट्रेवल करते हो, टैक्सी के ऊपर नहीं. ठीक है, तो कभी भी ऑन अ टैक्सी नहीं होगा, इन अ टैक्सी होगा. दिस वाज एक्सरसाइज 8. द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इज द omission ऑफ prepositions. बहुत जगह पे आप prepositions नहीं लगाते हो, नहीं जरूरी होती. कौन सी जगहें हैं वो? लेट्स डिस्कवर, लेट्स फाइंड इट आउट, लेट्स कॉम्प्रिहेंड एंड लेट्स रिमेंबर. राइट? After verbs denoting advice, commands, requests and invitation, वो verb जो आपको कमांड दे रहे हो, एडवाइस दे रहे हो, या रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हो, या इनविटेशन दे रहे हो, उन तमाम verbs के आखिर में आपने preposition नहीं लगानी. एग्जाम्पल है, she asked me to wait here. ठीक है, asked के बाद कोई preposition नहीं है. Between a transitive verb and its object. Transitive verbs कौन से होते हैं? जिनका एक specific object होता है, और वो ये कह रहे हैं he resembles his mother. अब resembles और mother जो है वो verb और उसका object है, लेकिन इनके बीच में हम कोई preposition कभी नहीं लगाएंगे. Next is before certain expressions. इसके लिए 3 examples हैं. एक, I go for a walk every morning. Go for a walk every morning is an expression. इससे पहले आपने कोई preposition नहीं लगानी. The building faces east. इसके अंदर preposition नहीं लगेगी. Wait a minute is an expression, और इसके अंदर कोई expression नहीं लगेगी. Remember this. And the last is twice if 2 or more words require the same preposition. अगर 2 या 2 से ज़्यादा words को same preposition चाहिए तो आप preposition एक दफ़ा लगाएंगे, 2 दफ़ा नहीं लगाएंगे. जैसे he is capable and confident of victory. अब capable के साथ भी off आना था और confident के साथ भी off आना था, लेकिन हमने सिर्फ एक जगह preposition लगाई है, 2 जगह नहीं लगाई, क्योंकि हमने ये जान लिया है, समझ लिया है, याद कर लिया है कि अगर एक सेंटेंस में 2 दफ़ा prepositions लग रही होती है तो हम उसको नहीं लगाते, एक दफ़ा ही यूज़ करते हैं. Reinforcement करते हैं एक्सरसाइज I के साथ. Exercise I says a few of the sentences below use incorrect prepositions. Stop them and rewrite them using an appropriate preposition. ठीक है? First sentence is the show begins at 4 o'clock and we should reach at the venue half an hour off advance. Off is incorrect and you have to write in advance. Second is she won't talk to me until I promise never to laugh on her again. Laugh at her again. The lady sitting at the corner table with my mother is a famous writer. There is no prepositional mistake in this sentence. It's a correct sentence. I went to see the film with my little sister and she cried most by the time. She cried most of the time. The chief guest spoke a few words for the audience before the program began. To the audience before the program began. Among all my cousins, I get along best by Nina. Among all my cousins, I get along best with Nina. The painting hanging above the fireplace was made by my father is a correct sentence No incorrect prepositional placed in this sentence. Walking along the river bank, she saw two crabs scurrying about. Hundreds of crabs. The rope was tied securely at both ends at a height to about 100 meters. Height of about 100 meters. While we waited for the doctor, we watched a boring show on television. Don't save all your homework for the last few days of the vacation is an entirely correct sentence. No incorrect preposition placed in the sentence. And the last is, I put a coin on the beggar's bowl and was surprised to see him smile. I put a coin in the beggar's bowl. Alright, so this was all about prepositions. We had taken this concept to cover in 2 lectures, and I hope that you are following both the lectures to get the correct concept. We have solved the confusion between a lot of prepositions, especially in, on, and at, which are the most confusing of all. Along with that, we learned the correct usage of a lot of other prepositions, and that at certain places the prepositions are to be omitted. We can't put in prepositions everywhere and anywhere we want to. That was all about the prepositions. फायजा नदीम को इजाज़त दो, ठीक है? मुझे, पाकिस्तान को, सब मुसलमानों को अपनी दुआओं में रखो, ठीक है? और जब तक हम दोबारा मिलते हैं तब तक फायजा नदीम की तरफ से अल्लाह हाफ़िज़।